Well, guys, when you throw a party in the penultimate episode, nothing good can come out of it, but holy shit, I was not prepared for that. You guys can remember The Flash, Season 2, Episode 22, Invincible, and oh my god, what an episode this was. I mean, for everyone that's complaining that there's been nothing happening this season, this episode should have showed you really the potential that this finale has. I was not prepared for what was going to happen. I mean, I kind of knew something big was going to happen because obviously this was the penultimate episode, so I knew something big was going to happen. But like I said, I was not prepared for that ending. I did not think that was going to happen. I mean, I was kind of worried that was going to happen. I'll talk about why, but what an episode. By far the best episode of the season. I mean, without a doubt, the best episode of the season. So many amazing scenes this episode. So many great returns this episode. So many just great teasers to Season 3 in this episode. But let's just get into this episode because there was a lot to get into. More than usual, honestly. And, definitely, especially the ending. I know you guys definitely want me to get into that, but let's get into the entire episode as a whole. Then we can reflect on the devastating events of the last 30 seconds of this episode. So we see right away Central City is in flames. The Earth 2 metahumans overwhelm the police and spread chaos. Joe and Singe are on the streets, and Singe takes a hit. Joe gets Singe into a squad car, tries to get away. The metahumans attack the car. Flash whisks them away before they can break in, and we don't know what this is about. It clearly is the doing of Zoom, but we see Iris is writing an article on the meta-apocalypse, which I like this scene because it really does remind us that, you know, we get all these really great monologues, and usually this would be like a season finale, but I thought it was interesting it was at the beginning of this episode. We see at home Wally watches newscasts about the metahumans, and he runs out, and Zoom looks down the city. He watches as Flash speeds through the city, putting out fires, and obviously Zoom is thinking that this is the hologram because he's thinking that the Flash is dead, and a very good way to start the episode. I really love showing the chaos that Zoom is causing just amongst everything. Just right what we already see, Zoom is causing tons of chaos and really trying to complicate things for Barry. So later, Barry meets Iris at Star Labs, and he is sure that they can deal with the metahumans, and he has this newfound confidence that very much is going to go away after this episode, but he has this newfound confidence, and that's why this episode's called Invincible, because Barry feels that everything's going to be fine after what, you know, now that he's gone through the Speed Force, he has this newfound sense. And Cisco takes him to the vortex where Caitlin is there, and Caitlin is alive. You know, Caitlin is alive and well. She's gone away from Zoom. Henry is checking her, reports that she's malnourished, and Caitlin says that Zolomon let her go, and told her that Barry was dead, and she insists they can't stop Zoom. That's just simply not possible. But Barry says that in the Speed Force, he saw the universe is with them, not Zoom, and once Barry takes Cam to get some rest, Cisco asks the others if Barry's being too overconfident. They worry that nothing seems to phase Barry anymore, and Wells figures that someone needs to talk to him because he's really acting way too overconfident. I mean, sure, we've seen Barry act confident before, but this is a new sense of confidence that really is kind of scary. The fact that nothing seems to faze him, nothing seems to worry him. He doesn't have any doubt in him whatsoever. And obviously, I mean, when you go through something like what Barry did in the Speed Force, I can totally understand that. But still, I mean, nothing is affecting him. He's acting way too, he's acting way too, like, confident, and it really is a problem because you can definitely tell the confidence is gonna go away very soon. So, at Mercury Labs, Tina is meeting, we see McGee again, which I like seeing McGee's character. We see her every now and again, I like seeing her. She's meeting with her staff when a metahuman walks up to the building, unleashes a sonic scream. The building starts to collapse. McGee orders an evacuation, and Cisco checks on Barry, and right away you can tell the chaos that Zoom is really causing. So Cisco checks on Barry and the sleeping Caitlin, and Barry insists that she'll be okay, and when he says it'll bring Zoom down, Cisco gets a vibe of a dead bird outside of a building, which we don't know what this bird really represents, but throughout this entire episode, Cisco sees this dead bird, and he doesn't know what it means, and when the vibe fades, Cisco tells Barry what he saw, and he doesn't really know what this means, and by far, this is the most we ever get into Cisco's vibes. Like, his vibe is not just vibing in this episode. There's a lot more that comes with it, and I think Cisco is getting a lot more aware of his powers. And, I mean, we've seen this sporadically as the season has gone on, but definitely in this episode, I think Cisco now is very aware of what he can do, and there's a lot more he can do than I thought he could do. So An alarm goes off in Mercury Labs. They realize that it's under attack, and at the building, McGee's knocked unconscious. The floor opens beneath her. Flash arrives, speeds through the wreckage, catches McGee, gets her safety to the street. They watch as Mercury Labs finishes collapsing, and she thanks Flash by his real name because she knows, of course, who he really is. And meanwhile, the metahuman Black Siren, who is Laurel Lance in Earth 2, walks away unnoticed. Now, yes, this is tough to watch because, of course, the last time we saw Laurel, of course, was in Arrow when she died. I thought it was cool to see her one more time here. It would make sense that Laurel Lance would be in Earth 2, but it kind of makes me interested. What other Arrow characters are there? You know, what are they up to? What's Oliver Queen up to? What's Diggle up to? I kind of want to see that. In fact, I'd like the Flash to do a full-on crossover with Arrow Earth 2. I think that'd be really cool if they did that. But getting to see Laurel Lance one time, I understand why Katie Cassidy wanted to do this because it was sudden saying goodbye to Laurel. Obviously, we've had to say goodbye to Laurel, but now we get this one last appearance. And while it's not actually Laurel Lance that we remember, it is really cool to see, and it's very much like a more darker side of Laurel Lance. This one actually has the canary cry, which I know a lot of people complained about. But back at Star Labs, we see McGee introduce herself to Henry, and she says that she didn't see who attacked the building, but Mercury Labs has a black box that would have stored the security footage, and McGee suggests that she saw Wells running out of her facility months ago and wonders if he had anything to do with it. If you remember, that's how this started, is that's what we met McGee, is that Wells was causing tons of havoc, and Wells comes in, admits that it was him that was doing all that, and I like that we finally got that confirmation, which we knew, but McGee never knew that, so I thought it was good that we had that there. And Barry offers to catch Tina up pretty much in everything that's going on, because obviously she's very behind, and, you know, she's back in, like, the beginning of Season 2. So a couple's walking home when a purse snatcher grabs a woman's purse and runs. Wally cuts the thief off in his car, tackles the man. The purse snatcher charges up, however, Joe shoots him with a boot, and the police officers with him haul the thief away. Wally insists that he's not going to let the metahumans do what they want, and I like that Wally, like I said, is trying to get involved. He doesn't really know how, he's just doing whatever he can to get involved, but he's going to end up getting himself killed if he continues to do it this way, because, you know, he doesn't have his powers yet. He is going to get his powers soon, but he doesn't have them yet, and Joe tells him to leave it to the cops, and Flash, he wants to show Flash that he was worth being saved, and Joe assures his son that he's worth it, but Wally points out that he's the one who avoided his dying mother for weeks and caused Flash's powers. And this I love, because this was the whiny Wally that, you know, ignored his mother and was focused on cars and things like that and got upset at literally everything that Barry did. And now he's reflecting on it. He's saying, look, I understand I caused these problems, and I need to do something to make up for that. And he caused Flash's powers. He figures that he has a lot to make up for, and that's what he intends to do. And honestly, I don't blame Wally. I do think he has a lot to make up for. There are a lot of things, you guys know I hated Wally at the beginning of the season. I really was not a fan of him when he was initially introduced. I don't think he was really working until, you know, I don't think he was really working until, you know, he found out about Flash and everything. That's really when he was starting to work. And with that, Wally walks off. Wells then comes in, finds Caitlin checking Jesse's genetic structure, and Jesse says the dark matter must have affected her somehow. She knows there clearly is something going on with her because she's not acting, you know, she doesn't feel human. She now feels like a metahuman, and Wells tells her that they could use Jesse's genius against the metahumans, and his daughter agrees, but I think she also feels she is a metahuman. And like I said, I think this is a soft, you know, very, in a very subtle way, setting up Jesse Quick and Kid Flash. Like I said, they're not going to touch upon it a ton, but I think we are going to get little references here and there until we actually get to Season 3. Season 3, I think, is really when we're going to begin setting that stuff up, because obviously we need to set that up because we do need to see Jesse Quick and Kid Flash, but we're not going to see that just yet. I think this definitely does show that. So Caitlin imagines seeing Zoom in the room with them. Wells sees her react, asks her she's alright. Caitlin assures him that she's fine, and obviously he's a bit freaked out. You know, he's a bit worried because he knows what Zoom did to her and what Zoom's capable of, and the fact that Caitlin's getting these, you know, flashes of Zoom in the room, I didn't really know what this means, but Flash gets the black box, heads out to check with Joe. Henry goes after him, asks if Barry saw the future while he was in the Speed Force, and this is a very important conversation for many reasons. One, it's a great scene for Barry and Henry to have, but also because the ending of this episode, we see Barry explains the Speed Force made it, so he's not afraid anymore, and Henry warns his son that he still has to be careful, and that even though, things seem good and that he is in a good place now, it's not going to stay that way. He needs to know that this is still not going to be easy, that he's taking on someone like Zoom who is not going to be easy to defeat, and Barry wonders why he's trying to take his confidence from him. He tells Henry that he hasn't been around to know, and then apologizes. Henry says he's done everything to know who Barry is, and Barry says that he's fine, and it's interesting. It's really interesting because you can see that Barry, his father being around is a good thing, but it also has kind of caused some problems because Henry now is getting involved a lot more. An alarm then goes off in the vortex as Zoom attacks the CCPD. Henry tells Barry not to do it, but he speeds off. Henry clearly does not think Barry can handle this. Not that he can't handle this, but he just doesn't feel it's safe. But, Barry doesn't really care about safety nets. You can tell that Barry is out of that whole, how's the safest way to do this? He doesn't really care about safety nets. He's kind of just going to do it the way he feels it needs to be done, despite what Henry tells him to do, which is very interesting. So we then see we then see after this, Barry rises to CCPD. He finds Zalman in his lab, and we finally get that confrontation we've been wanting between Zalman and Barry in this episode. Which it's very much like what happened with last year with the episode where Barry and Wells, it seemed like they were done in fighting and everything. Well, they're definitely, Barry and Thawne seemed like they were done fighting, but they're definitely not done fighting after this episode. We'll get into that. But I really like what Zalman did because he really does get into Barry's head more. And I know a lot of people have been saying, oh, Zalman's not as good as Thawne. Is he as good as a villain as Thawne? Maybe not for this entire season, but I think this episode, he was right up with Thawne. He was just as manipulative, he was just as creepy, and he talks about how he watched his mother die in front of him, realizes that Barry got his speed back, and the villain says that Barry can't keep running from one metahuman to the next. He knows what is holding Barry back. He promises that Barry will see that they're the same person, and that with the same reason for running. And again, we know for a while that we are comparing Zalman to Barry because we saw, of course, in that episode where we found out more about Zalman that he went through a very similar circumstance as Barry. The difference is that Barry wants to be seen as a hero, and that he doesn't care about being the hero. He wants to be a vigilante, and asks if it gets exhausting. Zalman says that it was exhausting playing the hero. A building crumbles in the distance, and Zalman says he's going to beat Barry because he always has to be the hero, and Zalman doesn't care about being the hero. He does what he thinks is right, and while Barry is saving lives, he'll be winning, and honestly, I don't think he's wrong. I mean, he does have a point there that, he takes risks. While Barry is always concerned about saving people, Zalman is concerned in doing what's best for him and making sure that he's always winning. So back at Star Labs, Barry tells the others that they have to take Zoom down before he takes down another building because obviously he is causing mass destruction here. He's taking down buildings, he's destroying things. I mean, he's going to possibly destroy the entire city. And Wells wonders how they can do that because it really seems impossible. I mean, most of this is being done through the canary cry. Is her doing that canary cry and everything. And Barry says they can take down the metahumans first and then take away Zoom's armor. And the team warns it will take weeks to track them all down. But Barry says they need to find a way to stop them all at once because obviously, they need to find a way to just end this. And Barry suggested they create vibrational tech key to the Earth 2 metas, and the team goes to work. Barry assures him that they got it, and in the hallway, Cisco gets a vibe of the same building, and birds fall out of the sky. Again, he does know what it means, but he keeps seeing it throughout this episode. So Joe talks to Barry privately, tells him what Wally is going through. Barry warns that Joe may not be able to stop Wally, but Joe figures that Wally considers himself invincible, but it won't protect him. And very much like Barry feels that he really has nothing to fear, Wally feels that he's just as strong as Barry. But the thing is, Wally doesn't have powers. Wally isn't the Flash. Wally is, when Wally gets hurt, he gets hurt. He can't do nearly the same things that Barry is doing, and he asks Barry to talk to, basically it's not going to protect him. He asks Barry to talk to Wally again as Flash, and Barry agrees because they need to have a one-on-one. Wally needs to realize what the Flash can do, what he can't do, and I really like seeing that. So in his workshop, a frustrated Cisco throws his pens at the clear board. He tells Caitlin that he can't come up with a way to make Barry's plan work because he wants to make this work, but he doesn't really know how. And Caitlin sees Zoom appear in front of her, but Cisco sees nothing, assures his friend that she's okay. He tries to reassure her, but Caitlin says she's wrong all the time and can't move forward. And we're reminded this episode how great these two work together. I definitely really love that. And Jade, we see that, she talks about how Zalman took everything from her. Caitlin doesn't believe she'll be whole again because, of course, Zalman told her that she has a darkness in her, and she's worried that she is going to go dark, and she doesn't want to go dark, and Cisco hugs her, promises that she is going to recover, but I don't know, I mean, there's a lot that she had to go through, and obviously, Cisco does not know the pain that she endured. I mean, he does know what happened with Reverb, that he was worried that he turned a Reverb, but honestly, I think Caitlin does have a chance of becoming, Killer Frost. There is a very good chance it could happen to her, especially with the events of this episode at the end. We'll get to that. I definitely think she has a chance of becoming Killer Frost and possibly getting as dark as Solomon wants her to. So I do think a big part of next week's finale is going to involve Caitlyn, just because the role she's playing this season has been much bigger than the role she played last season. So Flash finds Wally in a car listening to a police scam. When Wally says he wants to help, Flash advises him to leave it to the police. Wally points out that Flash didn't, and it's up to everyone in the city to protect it because, Flash went against the police. The police told him not to do something he did anyway because he wants to save them. And Cisco calls to warn Flash of a major meta alert. And I will say that Wally does have a point. For once, he wasn't annoying here. And I don't think he's been annoying for a couple episodes, but he was not wrong. Like, I can get behind what Wally was saying. That, while he's saying you need to let the police handle this, Barry would not do that. Barry did not let the police handle this. He completely did what he wanted to do, and Cisco calls to warn Flash of a major meta alert. Flash speeds off. Wally, having overheard Flash in the conversation, speeds there as well because he really does want to help and he doesn't know how. But Black Siren's then standing in the street and Flash arrives, realize that he is facing the Earth to Laurel Lance, and he finds out here that Laurel is dead, and Caitlyn and the others listen in, which, of course, he knew that Laurel was dead because he went to her funeral, so, he saw Oliver when she died, so he knows she's dead. Caitlyn and the others listen in, and it also really makes me think that Sarah is going to find out very soon that Laurel's dead. It even looks like in the Legends Tomorrow promo that she's going to find out, but more about that when we get to Legends Tomorrow. Caitlyn tells Wells that Cisco loved Laurel, and we know that. We know that Cisco clearly did have a crush on Laurel, and meanwhile, Black Siren explains she took down Mercury Labs because she likes to watch things crumble and blast Flash. She moves in on the superhero and punches him. Now, let me just say, I don't think it was just a crush. I think he was really inspired by her as well. Her story, everything she went through. We know how he freaked out when he first met Laurel Lance, and definitely it's sad that Cisco has to find out in this way. Wally slams into Black Siren, tells Flash to get in. He speeds off before the medic can recover, and as they drive away, Flash does thank Wally, then speeds off, and I do like seeing Wally already kind of being like a sidekick to Flash. It really does set up what I think next season's going to be. Like I said before, Flash doesn't need sidekicks, but, he's not gonna not want them, He's going to appreciate them. He's not going to, tell him to back off because, one, that's not how Barry is. Two, he doesn't really, he appreciates it. If you can get help, yeah, I think Barry's like, I don't need the help, but if you can get it, then, I'm not going to say no, basically. If you're going to help me, then I'm not going to say no because, who doesn't want help? So, at Star Labs, Caitlyn tends to Barry's injuries. Barry has told the team what happened, and Joe is angry that Wally did the opposite of what he wanted because he told Wally straight out, don't get involved. And Miss Fosterson says that Wally is a determined kid, but Joe doesn't want to see the day when Wally isn't lucky because he's really worried that Wally's going to get himself killed. And honestly, I am worried that Wally might get himself killed, but Barry assures him it's not a matter of luck. Iris warns him that he's not invincible. She says that a little fear can be a healthy thing, and it's something both Barry and Wally need to realize, that fear is a good thing. Having that fear can, if you're aware of that fear, it can really motivate you, and we remember last year at this point, Barry was thinking that he could not defeat, Wells. But here, Barry feels he can defeat Zoom with no problem. And I think that's really why Barry ends up in the situation he ends up at the end of this episode, which we'll get into. But Black Siren tells Zolomon that she met Flash. He knows that she didn't kill him. Black Siren points out that she's the only one of his lieutenants still standing. Zolomon tells her to knock down a few more buildings, so that seems random. Flash and his team won't realize what he's up to until it's too late. Merely says that he's up to no good. And basically, that he's up to no good. They don't really know, obviously she doesn't know what his plan is, but she knows he's up to no good. In the breach room, Cisco administers dimensional shock therapy to Wells at a test. Kind of a funny scene. He tells his team that they found that all Earth 2 people vibrate at a higher frequency. By the way, Cisco had some of the best lines this episode. Usually he does, but he had some great lines here. I love the scene where he's like, it's just like an Alfred Hitchcock movie in my head with the birds, where he keeps talking about Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, because, yeah, he keeps seeing birds in his head. So Cisco checked with Hartley, who suggests they create a dimensional tuning force, and if Flash runs around the city fast enough to create a refracting field, the device will send in a recursive wave that will disrupt any Earth 2 resident's nervous system. And Joe wonders how to protect Harry and Jesse, because obviously those two are from Earth 2, and they're going to be very affected. And Wells shows them the headphones that they've created. A metahuman app shows an attack on a high-rise development. I'm like, are we going to see those metahuman trackers? I was kind of freaking out, because you guys know how much I love those metahuman trackers. We didn't have that, but Wells tells Barry to generate the refracting field. Barry worries about the people in the high-rise. Cisco says he has an idea. Black Siren approaches the building. Caitlin calls out to her, and we don't know what Cisco's idea really is, but what he decides to do here is awesome, and I love that he decided to do this. Basically, Black Siren approaches the building. Caitlin calls out to her. She hears and she goes to investigate, and there is Cisco and Caitlin. Cisco is dressed up as Reverb. Caitlin is dressed up as Killer Frost, and it's as awesome as you can imagine. And Black Siren mistakes them for the real thing because, you know, they're very good at playing that role. And Cisco says they want Zoom to believe they're still dead. He says the Black Siren isn't Rain. They start to walk away, and Black Siren figures that they plan to take over Zoom. Cisco says they could all be gods rather than serve Zoom. And at Star Labs, Wells tells the team that the device is ready. Flash speeds off to generate the refracting field. Black Siren asks what their plan is, and Cisco says that they combine their powers and ambush Zoom at the CCPD. However, Black Siren tosses Cisco a piece of pipe. He catches it with his right hand, and Black Siren says the Earth 2 doppelgangers are mirror images, and Caitlin realized that Reverb was left-handed, and they run. But the way that Cisco was still able to do that, I thought was awesome. I loved seeing that, and the fact that he didn't know what was going on, I thought was pretty funny as well. But of course, they're busted because Reverb could catch things with his left hand, and how Black Siren took very good note of this, I don't really know. I'm assuming she worked very intently with them, but they run. Flash continues running. Cisco and Caitlin come to a dead end. Cisco gestures over a blast of Reverb energy, knocks her down, but he can't summon a second blast, unfortunately. The first blast seemed like it worked, but he can't do it a second time. But it does show that he has that ability to do what Reverb did, which I think is really cool, because that's what 5 is famous for, is the thing with the hand, and finally we got to see that here. Flash reaches the critical mass. Wells activates the device. The cross to see the Earth 2 metas collapse, and as the CCPD Zoom and the others metas moan in pain. Jesse complains about the pain, and Wells gives her his protective headphones. I thought Jesse was going to end up, like, dying or something here. Zoom opens a breach, speeds back to Earth 2. Wells collapses, and Henry assures Jesse their father will be okay. Joe calls Flash, tells him to bring all the metas in. Probably one of the most intense scenes we've had all season. I love the way this was done. The team locks the metas away in the pipeline. Caitlin tells Barry and Cisco that for the first time she felt alright when she was out in the streets fighting the metas, and she seemed okay. Like, she felt like, alright, we got this, and seems like everything's good there. So it seems like, you know, they've gotten everyone back to Earth 2. They've got Zoom away and everything. You know this is not the end, but it seems too good to be true, which we'll get into that. But at the CCPD, Joe says the metas are all secured. Flash arrives, says the metas told him that Zoom made his way back to Earth 2. Singe thanks Flash, who says that they're all part of the same team. When the captain wonders where Barry is, Flash speeds off. Barry runs in, which is kind of a funny scene. Singe tells him that he had 100 meta criminal cases to go through. And once Barry and Joe are alone, Barry says that Wally has Joe's desire to help people. He's not going to stop Wally from being the hero he eventually become, because Wally just wants to be that hero, and he's going to let him be a hero. That's exactly what he wants him to do. It's what Joe wanted him to do, and even though Joe's so protective of Wally, you know, he would also want to be that hero, and he doesn't think that Joe should either. And after a moment, Joe does agree that the best thing to do is to let Wally be that hero, because it's not, what harm can that do, really? I mean, like I said, Wally just wants to get involved. What harm can that do? So I love the way this episode ends, though, because we end with a party, and I'm like, this is interesting because this is the penultimate episode. Seems too good to be true. We see Barry and Wells. They arrive at the West home, and this is probably going to be one of the most infamous scenes of The Flash because the way this goes. They find everyone there for dinner. Iris figured that they should celebrate Wells coming back to Central City. We see Henry's chatting it up with McGee. Barry figures that Henry's glad that Iris invited her. He suggests the two of them give the relationship a chance. Iris agrees. You see Jesse and Wally are getting close because Jesse asks Wally if he saved Flash's life. Joe says that he did good. He offers a toast to the family, and everything seems fine. Everything seems really good here. Everyone's bonding really well. It was a nice scene to see everyone together, and also I noticed, very much like in Season 1, Flash just have a huge team in Season 2, and even bigger than the one in Season 1, but we see Cisco then gets another vibe of dead birds. He doesn't know what this means, but people are running in terror. He looks up, realizes that he's on Earth 2, and the city is splitting in half, and when the vibe enters, Cisco tells him that he might have just saw the end of the world, and we don't know what this means, but then Zoom speeds in, he grabs Henry, tells Flash that their story continues, he speeds off, and Barry speeds after him right in front of Wally, and I was thinking this is how the episode was going to end, but it doesn't end that way. The way this episode ends is not only tragic, but honestly kind of inevitable, and really, I think, pretty genius, actually, the way this was done. We see Zoom runs into the old Allen house, and Flash arrives to find Zolomon holding Henry by the neck. He insists that the two of them are the same, and he's going to make Barry believe him. Now, what I was thinking was going to happen is that this episode would end with Zoom telling Barry, welcome back to the Allen house, is what I thought was going to happen. But again, that's not how this episode ends. Henry tells his son that Barry has made him the happiest father alive. You can see basically he's going to make Barry suffer. He's going to show these two are alike because we know that Jay, he lost both of his parents. He was an orphan, and Henry tells his son that Barry's made him the happiest father alive no matter what. Jay kills him. Barry screams in terror, and oh my god, I was not prepared for this at all. That's the way the episode ends. Holy shit, I mean, things could not get worse here. Things could not have gone worse. But here's the thing. I really should have saw this coming for a couple reasons. One, the fact that Henry has not been upgraded to a major role. I mean, if Henry was to stick around, he would be major next season, right? He hasn't been upgraded. So there's that. There's the fact that we had that conversation with Barry and Henry. This episode was very focused on Barry and Henry. The last several episodes have been very focused on Barry and Henry. And you should know, when a character is focused on a lot, and they're not usually focused on enough, that usually means that they're gonna die, and that's exactly what happened to Henry. He died. It's very tragic, but I think it really woke up Barry. Like, Barry's finally out of this overconfidence that he had. I'm not saying that Barry was being an asshole, but obviously he was being too safe. He had this, he wasn't being safe at all. He pretty much thought that he got this and that nothing bad was going to happen and that he knew exactly what he was doing, but he was not all prepared for this. I don't think anyone was prepared for this, really, and that's why I think this is so good. Here's the reason why I even think this might even been, I think, a better death than what happened in Arrow, because Arrow, we knew someone is going to die. Just like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tonight, we know someone is going to die. So it is going to be shocking with who dies, but it's not going to be as shocking because we went to the episode knowing very well that someone's going to die. I just went into this episode thinking it was going to be the penultimate episode and it would set up things for next week. I had no idea that someone was going to die here. Did I have fears that Henry would die before the season ended? Oh yeah, I definitely thought Henry is a possible contender. He's not the one that I thought was going to die. If anything, I thought Wells was going to die, because, Wells is from Earth 2. Even Jessie, I thought she might have died. I did not think that Henry would be the one to die, but honestly, it does make a lot of sense. I mean, Barry started off the show wanting to get justice for Nora. He never got that justice for her. Now he gets to get that vengeance for his mother, but now he gets to get that justice for his father in the way he's never wanted to before. He's now going to go after Zoom. We're going to see how this works out. Zoom clearly wants to destroy Earth 2 completely. Why he wants to destroy his hometown, I don't know, but he wants to destroy Earth 2. The way that he is trying to make Barry and him seem alike, he's really not wrong. I mean, in many ways, they are very much alike in the sense that Barry and Zoom, they both had terrible childhoods. Well, Barry definitely had a better childhood than Zoom did, but they both grew up with no parents. Now they're both orphans, which Barry's now an orphan, which I get it that we want Joe to stay as his father, but Joe has been very much Wally's father, and he hasn't been Barry's as much. So now Henry's gone. It looks like we're going to have his funeral next week. It's going to be very sad to see what happens with that. And I think just like last year's finale, it's going to be very sad, and it's going to be very bittersweet as well. I like that someone died in this episode, not the finale, because we can't expect someone to die in the finale every time. And I expect someone to die in the finale. Please don't kill off anyone else in the finale, because that'd be really sad and it'd be really unnecessary as well. I think Henry was the death we needed this season. This was emotional, it was sad, and it really showed that no one is safe. I mean, I think this really showed that nobody is safe on this show, which I've always kind of thought, but I never really thought that the Flash would go in this direction. I don't know what Season 3 is going to be. I feel like Season 3 is going to be a lot more sad now that this is going, but it really just shows how ballsy of a show The Flash is. I mean, The Flash, yes, is the more of the fun show than Arrow. That definitely is more fun than Arrow. Not that Arrow isn't as fun, but Flash is just a lot more fun, and you can enjoy it a lot more than Arrow. While Arrow, you really need to focus on it and all these things. Well, you do have to focus on the Flash as well. But the Flash, I can leave the room for a couple minutes, and I know exactly what's going on. It's one of those kind of shows. But this is just crazy. I can't believe this happened. I had no idea this was going to happen. Let's talk about Kanan, because I feel Kanan's going to play a major role in the finale, next week. Is she going to go along with Zolman's plan? Is she going to channel her inner Killer Frost? I mean, we saw she's very capable of doing so let's see what happens with that. Cisco clearly is finding out more about his powers. We still don't know what those birds mean. I don't know what that means, if that was a metaphor for Henry's death. I'm not really sure what's gonna happen there. That was definitely really crazy. Jesse and Wally clearly are starting to experience their powers. They're clearly starting to realize that there's something more going on with them. Looking forward to seeing what happens with that. Also, let's talk about Wells and Jesse, because they're from Earth 2. Are they going to go back to Earth 2? Because I'm assuming Earth 2 is just not going to, get destroyed. They're going to go back to Earth 2 at some point. I don't know when they're going to go back to Earth 2, but I feel like they're definitely going to go back there. But overall, guys, one incredible episode. By far best episode of the season. I am pretty much at a loss for words. I can't believe they actually killed off Henry, but I'm also very impressed they killed off Henry because they kept it as secret as possible. There were really no, I think, rumors. I mean, I think we kind of knew that Henry was going to die when he said he was sticking in Central City. There was that because he wasn't a main character. But I never really thought they'd kill him off in this episode. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Incredible stuff overall. One of the best episodes Flash has ever done, without a doubt. I absolutely love this episode. Made me love these last 4 episodes have really made me, these last 3 episodes have really made me love season 2 even more. Let me know if you guys saw this episode, love to hear your thoughts on it, and we'll see you guys in my next show, which will be for the season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which, as shocking that's going to be, it is not going to be as shocking as this episode. I will definitely say that. This episode was, it's going to be shocking, but this was even more shocking because, again, I didn't go into this episode with the mindset that someone's going to die, and I went into Flash knowing that someone would die. I don't know what's going to happen in the finale. I literally have no predictions, really, because, honestly, at this point, it's very unpredictable, and I like that unpredictability. But if you guys saw this episode, I'd love to hear I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I don't know what's going to happen in the finale. I can't wait for the finale, but at the same time, it's going to be sad, definitely. I think it's going to be a much sadder. I mean, the season 1 finale was very bittersweet and very sad, of course, with Eddie sacrificing himself and whatnot. But this is even sadder because we're going into an episode with a character dying. And it's not just any character. This is Barry's father, who looked after him, who he just got out of prison, who is agreed to stick by his side, and who Barry really loved, and who he just could always count on to talk to, and now he's dead. It's going to be very sad to see. But let me know if you guys saw this episode, to your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys next year, which will be for the season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.